Good evening, and welcome to tonight's broadcast on Facebook Live here on blackdoctor.org. I am Ellis Dean, the Director of Digital Programming for blackdoctor.org, and I am excited about tonight's program. We have some wonderful guests, and they have a great story we're here to tell. Because tonight, if you didn't know this already, this month of September, there's a lot of months, and I know we get caught up in all these months, but the month of September is also pain month. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about pain and pain management, but we're going to do it in a different way. Because, like Doctor, we try to give you all different perspectives that you can explore in terms of your health and wellness journey. So tonight, we've got two great chiropractors are going to be here to talk about pain management, and they're going to tell a little bit of their story as well. It's a fascinating story, so sit back, relax, and you're going to be blessed by hearing tonight's show. So a couple of things we like to have you do right before we get started, and that is to let us know where you're watching from. So if you could drop in the comments and let us know where you're watching us from, that would be great, because we'd like to see where everybody is around the country and around the world. We have some people from South Africa and Europe and all over watch our program. Also, if there's some information tonight that you know someone could use or could need tonight, please share it, tag them, tag a friend, tell them, hey, you need to be watching this program on blackdoctor.org. And finally, learn. Open up your mind. We're here to learn, and we're here to share quality health and wellness information from a culturally relevant standpoint, and that's what we're here to do. So I've said enough about that's all the particulars, that's all the warm-up stuff. So make sure you're letting us know where you're watching us from. Also, there's a couple of things when I was researching for tonight's program, and this is coming. Did you know that chiropractic are the second safest doctors in the United States, according to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services? Did not realize that. So a lot of times we think about chiropractic as backcrackers, and so we're going to figure out what it is and what it isn't today. Also, did you know that experts estimate that up to 80% of the population will experience back pain at some time in their life? And I can be a testament. I'm part of that 80%. I can speak. A couple of years ago, I was bent over. It was on, muscle relaxers and all kind of stuff, and CBD and all of that. And I probably should have just gone to one of these sisters tonight to get that pain out of my back, because it was bad, and it was debilitating. And so I definitely can speak to having back pain. And finally, did you know back pain is one of the most common reasons for missed work? Now, and I can't attest to that one, because, I've missed work for other reasons. We're not going to talk about that. But I will say that back pain is one of the most common reasons for people missing work. And it's caused people to stop working. So we know there's a lot of workers' comp claims that are as a result of back pain. And so it can end careers. And so there's some seriousness there. And so we're going to talk about we're going to get some tips and techniques on how we can get over back pain and other ailments that we might have. And so I want to, before we meet our guests live, I'd like to show you a video that they did. So this is how special they are. LegalZoom, yeah, everybody's heard of LegalZoom. LegalZoom did a profile of these two doctors. That's how special they are. So I'm going to play you the brief video of their LegalZoom profile, and then we're going to meet Doctors LaToya and LaTonya Harris. So stick around and let me play this video for you real quick, and then we'll get to going. Okay.
We had a car accident, and that kind of changed the trajectory of sports for us. I was always in pain, no matter what sport I played. It was to the point where I wasn't sleeping through the night. I was waking up with muscle spasms, and when we met Dr. Jordan, all of this stuff changed. So Dr. Jordan, within a span of 2 weeks, was able to help us, and we were back doing everything that we love to do.
And that's the problem with streaming. Sometimes it's just you have some technical difficulties. So I apologize for that. But let's put the video aside and we're going to introduce to you Doctors LaToya and LaTonya Harris. How are y'all doing? Look,
it's okay.
It's fine.
It happens. It's one of those. That's the hard part of when you're streaming. Things can go wrong like that. But I'm happy to have you here. And so, what we missed from the video is that the first question is, how did you get involved in chiropractic care?
Oh, yeah. That's a very long story, actually.
Yeah. So basically, when we turned 16, we were so excited to get our license and everything. We got our license. And then the first week we had it, we were involved in a car accident. It was not our fault. We were rear-ended. Disclaimer. Yeah. And so after that, we went to the chiropractor. We went to the doctor. He referred us to a chiropractor and told us, hey, like, this can help you guys get better. So we went to the chiropractor, and actually we did not really care for it that much, to be honest. It kind of led us to some not so great opinions about it. I don't think we just fully understood what was going on at the time. And it just kind of made us shy away from it.
And I was really scared of like the neck adjustments and everything, because my neck and my back were affected from it. So I was terrified of getting my neck adjusted. And I was like, Daddy doesn't really have to do this to me. And he was like, just let him do his job. And I also found out at the time that I couldn't take muscle relaxers. So they have the opposite effect in me. So that was a terrible thing. I'm sitting here wondering, like, I'm in pain all the time. What can I possibly do? Because I need a solution. And I play basketball and softball and run cross country. So, my life was being affected at that point. I actually ended up having pain for about 6 months. No, sorry, not 6 months, longer than 6 months. I was out of sports for 2 months, 6 years until I found another chiropractor. And the only difference was the technique that they used. But the Dr. Jordan, the one we were speaking about in the video, his technique was it resonated with my body. There's so many different types of techniques, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I was just blown away. And about, like LaToya said, about 2 weeks, everything I had been feeling for 6 years during any activity was gone, completely gone. And I was amazed and like, wow, this is something that I wish I would have known when I was younger. This is something that can really help people. If 6 years of back pain can go away with me, how can I do this for other people?
But even then with Dr. Jordan, we still weren't fully persuaded that that's what we wanted to do. We always grew up with a business background. Like, our parents have owned multiple businesses throughout our lives. So we were like, oh no, like, that's not something I can do. We're not smart enough to do that. And so we just kind of, still proceeded away from it, even though we were interested. And it wasn't until 2017 when pretty much we were on the path of sport management. That's what our bachelor's degree was in from UT Austin. And we had a great experience, but like we volunteered for every single thing. Like whatever event, whatever, we worked for athletics, for whatever it was we could get our hands on sports related, we were doing it. And every door just seemed to be closing after that, like after graduation. We took our LSAT to go to law school. That obviously didn't pan out because we're here now. But it wasn't until 2017 when we were working and like trying to move toward collegiate licensing that we really had to sit back and say, hey, when were we happiest? I feel like God just kind of intervened and took a hard left, and we actually decided to stop not going against that plan. And we entered in, we went to an informational session. Our friend was like, hey, I think y'all can do this. Y'all are really smart. Y'all learned a lot about sports over time and a lot about the body. I think you'd be really good at this. And so we just took a chance. We went to an informational, and then I think 2 months later, we moved back to Dallas, where we're from, and entered chiropractic school. And the rest is kind of history.
So that is some great academic achievement history, because I understand that you were first and second in your graduating class from high school.
Yes.
And then you're finishing at chiropractic school, you're first and second in your class from chiropractic school.
Yes, sir.
so,
Yes.
so, so achievement is part of your. It seems like that's part of your DNA.
I think it's more God's work than ours. We're just the vessel, and He's just using us. So.
Yeah, our mom said we've always been like that since we were very little. She was like, y'all would cry if y'all got like an S+ on your like your little report card in kindergarten. She was,
Right.
and she's like, I always ask, like, was I putting that pressure on you or was somebody else? And we're like, no, we just want to be the best at whatever it is that we're doing. So it's definitely driven.
Yeah, definitely been deep rooted for a very long time.
Well, that right there is incredible to have that kind of synergy and symmetry throughout from high school through, because you both have your masters, right?
Yes, we do. We have 2 master's degrees. We have a master's degree in sport management, and we also have a master's degree in functional nutrition.
Okay, because you were on the path to being an agent. You wanted to be sports agents.
Yes, we did want to be sports agents. So our plan was, okay, we're going to take our LSAT. We wanted to retake it again because, if you're all the lawyers out there know that when you're taking an LSAT, 10 points different is like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of scholarships. So we were like, if we can increase our score like just a little bit. So we entered our master's program at Texas, and then we kind of fell in love with it, and we decided against law school. But we wanted to go to Ohio State and do their joint JD MBA program in sport management. But
I know. I will say our grandmother, she always used to say, oh, y'all are going to be doctors or lawyers one day. And I did not believe her. I thought she was crazy. I'm like, I have no desire to do any of those. And here we are. We tried both of them. So, sometimes your grandparents just see stuff in you that you don't.
That's the power of being a grandparent. I promise you that.
Oh, yeah.
Let them speak life into you.
They are ongoing.
They got that prophetic word that always happens. I was like, you know what? My grandmother would say something to me. I'm like, I can't. I'm not going. Whatever you say, brother. But absolutely, that is incredible. So you go off. Your life got pretty much derailed by that car accident, right? Because you're talking about, and you all are still young. So when you're talking about somebody that's young that still has back pain for 6 years, that's a significant amount of pain, and that's a significant injury. And then to have that care get rid of that pain, help eliminate that pain to get you back to what you could feel normal, feel functioning again. That's a significant kind of point in your life that changed that trajectory a little bit. So talk about Dr. Jordan. So Dr. Jordan is apparently the person that made you go right when everything was going left.
Yes, Dr. Jordan. So when did we meet Dr. Jordan? 2014. I met him in 2014. We both did. I actually started seeing him because about a week apart, Toya and I both pulled our hamstrings while we were working out. And we went to see him, and he did that. And I was like, Jordan, hey, you fixed my hamstring. I don't know what you did. I've never had this type of treatment before, but can you look at my back because it has bothered me for so long? And we really kind of just he adjusted me. He also did some soft tissue work with me. And then he just told me some different exercises that I could do to help. And he's like, you're already active. Keep doing that. And literally the sky was the limit after that. I honestly was in the best shape of my life during that time that I was there, just because of the work that he was able to do with me. I could train how I wanted to. And for so long I couldn't because, everybody's like, oh yeah, do core exercises. And that's great. You should do core exercises, but picking the right exercise for the right person is so important. And I didn't understand that until Dr. Jordan came in with everything and changed my life.
And then we also worked very closely with Dr. Jordan because his office was inside of the gym that we were managing at the time. We managed a sports performance gym in Austin. Shout out to everybody that trained for the game. And so basically we saw different people with different conditions, and nothing was ever kind of cookie cutter. It was always about the individual. And that's, I think, what more than anything has really influenced us. He's always been like, okay, I understand what things people say work, but also comes down to the person you have in front of you and you figuring out what is going to best help them versus what people say helps everybody else.
That is important. I mean, we're talking about you're talking about injuries. You're talking about whether it's from an accident or whether from just pulling a hamstring, and helping with that, but also recognize how the body works and tailoring the care that was specific for you. And so so that'll lead me to that leads to the next topic, like what is chiropractic care, right? Because we hear that term chiropractic care, and of course when I work with a lot of medical doctors, and you always hear about this supposed tension between chiropractors and medical doctors and all that stuff. But what exactly is chiropractic care? Because when you say that to somebody, they say, "Oh, they just going to adjust your back and crack your neck and do all that other stuff." I know it's more than that, but help our audience understand what is chiropractic care.
Good. Okay, so simply put, chiropractic care really just involves making sure that the body and the nervous system are collaborating together. So we really look at different, like pretty much any joint and any muscle in the body, and try to make sure that it's functioning properly. And it can also be used to not only, like, you don't only have to come in if you have pain, you can also come in to kind of prevent. So we can do different assessments to see if you're at risk for an injury, because I think what a lot of people don't know, because some people will come to us all the time, they're like, oh, like I don't need a chiropractor, I'm fine. Like I don't have any issues going on in my body. But what people fail to realize is that you can have a 40% reduction in function of a certain area of your body before you even experience pain. So it can, and so it's really important to take that preventative measure, just like you would if you go to the dentist. You don't just go to the dentist because you have cavities. You want to go to the dentist to help prevent those cavities as well. We kind of operate in that same realm.
Okay, so and that's interesting, because a lot of times you hear when you hear about people going to a chiropractor, it's because they already have pain, whether it's pain in their neck, pain in their back, pain in their hip, whatever. They may have one leg longer than the other one. They got this hip, so they're going to them when they're in distress. And so what I'm hearing from you is like you should go to maybe start seeing this care before you have it, so you could prevent injury, or they could say, hey, what's happening right now is, down the road, you could have injury if you don't take care of this right now. And let's talk about how we can prevent pain and injury before it happens, versus coming in after and you're bent over because you can't stand up because your back is hurt so much.
Yes. We don't like seeing you when you are bent over and can't stand up because your back is hurting.
And I've been there. So that's why I'm speaking from personal experience, where like you can't get out of the chair, where you have to, roll over to get up. And I've been in that kind of pain before. And I wish, and I didn't know what it was from. And people have a lot of advice when they see you're in pain. And some of that advice is not always good. I'm just going to say that and leave it at that. So it's interesting that you say it's a connection between the nervous system and the body.
Yeah, so pretty much any joint, any muscle. I mean, the brain controls everything that we do, right? So it controls all of our movements. It controls the way our joints move. So basically, we want to just look at that and make sure that we're reestablishing. Like, so sometimes you ever feel like you're stiff?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes it's like, okay, maybe a certain joint is just lacking a little bit of motion there. We need to kind of just reestablish with the brain, like maybe go through, adjust it, do some soft tissue work, and basically just let the brain know, hey, this area is okay. Like we can move it and just have that repair its communication with the brain.
Oh, wow. That is an interesting thing of looking at, because you're right. If your brain says, if you have, something that's sore or stiff, and your brain is now getting that message that particular joint, body part is not working properly, then we automatically our brain adjusts. So basically what you all are doing is you're correcting the issue to send that message back to the brain that, hey, this is fine. So you can go, you can run full speed again because your hamstring is fine. Potentially. Okay. That makes a lot more sense, because literally, I was one of those people. I'm guilty of thinking that it was like, okay, because I've been to a chiropractor before, and we spent most of the time on the table, and he was just doing adjustments, whether it was my back and then my neck, and it helped. Though I'm not casting any aspersions on it, but it was just, it was in alignment with what my thinking was. And from what I'm hearing from the two of you, either you all are different chiropractors, or there's way much more to chiropractic to the practice than just what I was doing laying on that table.
I think it definitely can be. I know for us, when we have a new patient come in, we're really big on patient education because we felt that way before when we went to the first chiropractor. We're like, even though we were young, we're still capable of understanding. So we're like, what are we doing? Like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't like feeling that way. I've always been a very curious person. It's gotten me into trouble at times with my mom. I know she's probably on here watching.
Yes.
So I've always asked a lot of questions. So I never want any patient that comes into our office to feel like, well, they just do this and I really don't understand what they're doing, because I want them to know. I want them to know and show that we're on a team. We really take a team-based approach with our care. And we want to know what your goals are. We want to know what's going on in your life right now. Like, so that way we can basically help create a care plan that is going to be helpful for you. If we have to integrate other doctors in that care plan, we do that as well. If you're on other prescriptions, we're like, okay, well, that maybe a supplement that we might recommend for you. We're like, okay, go get it cleared with your PCP because I see you're on XYZ medication. We need to make sure it's not going to cause a reaction, and that we can continue forward with the progress that you're making here.
I think the best way to kind of just sum it all up is we're focused on empowerment. We really want people to be able to take control of their health and their body, because the more that you do know, the better that you can take care of yourself. I don't want people to need me for the rest of their lives. Yes, people are getting injured, and I understand that that's what keeps our doors open, right? But at the same time, I think there's value in teaching people. And we all know that doctor means teacher. So I have that responsibility just with the title to help people the best I can, whether that's in my office or outside of my office.
One of the things I found to be curious is the name of your office, the Blueprint. Like, how did you come up with that name?
The Blueprint. Okay. So basically, one day we were talking, there was a professor, Dr. Wells at Parker University. If he's watching, hi, Dr. Wells. He told me to shout him out the last video that we did. So he gets his shout out now. But he was talking to us. He was like, hey guys, y'all are about a year and a half out from graduating. Everybody in this room needs to be creating some type of business plan, whether you want to work for somebody now or later. Whether you want to start a practice now or later. And so Toya and I went in the library one day. That was kind of like our home. We were always in there studying really late, and we were sitting in the chairs, and we just, had a brainstorm with it. Like, hey, what would we want our practice to be called? And so immediately, like, the first thought I had was, one of the founding chiropractors, they set the premise as the power that made the body heals the body. And so we were sitting there and like, this is it. Like, our body was designed to heal naturally. Not saying we're not anti-med. I don't mean that in an anti-med way. Medicine is but yeah. So we have tools in our body to help us heal, and chiropractic is about helping people find that, right? So that's where the name The Blueprint came, and we kind of just stuck. Like, we have a unique human blueprint. And it's beautiful. And I think also just because all of us are so different too, it's like we each have our own human blueprint. And whatever that body is going to take us through life to do, we want to be able to help you do it. So if you come to us and you're like, hey, I just want to be able to play with my grandkids. Okay, cool. Let's build a plan so we can help you do that.
So every patient, I love that concept. So everybody has its own blueprint, right? And then you're trying to develop a plan based on their blueprint on what they want to do. So if it's about playing with the grandchildren, or if it's about, if you are an athlete, a former athlete, you want to be able to go and play those pickup basketball games still.
Yes.
We have a lot of those.
I'm sure you get a lot of those. Weekend warriors. I was out there doing my trying to relive the glory days and tear it up stuff. I almost tore my groin out there, but that's a whole other story. Out there playing flag football. So yeah, definitely. So I like that approach. I love the name, because that's why we named it. That's why we named it. The name of the show is The Blueprint, and talk about finding purpose after pain, because it really spoke to your story. You all had this pain from that car accident that was lingering, that you couldn't get past, couldn't get beyond. And then once you met that Dr. Jordan, I'm going to give him another shout out. Once you met Dr. Jordan, and he helped you get through that pain. Getting through that pain got you on your purpose and started you on your way. And so there was no other way to really kind of describe what we're going to talk about tonight is finding your purpose after that pain. And so, and that could speak to anything that anybody's going through in their life. You've got to, and pain could be emotional pain, it could be physical pain, it could be spiritual pain. But once you go through that, if you can find a way to overcome it, you can find your purpose. And so, I don't want to get off on this whole tangent soapbox, but it really speaks to the inspiration of your story. As I was kind of learning about you two, and when we had our initial conversation, I was like, these two are so inspiring that I wanted to be able to show that inspirational message to our audience and kind of talk about that. So, and Bonnie, thank you for that comment, because absolutely they are such an inspiring too. So, talked about what is chiropractic, what it isn't. It's not just there to crack your back. You're going to crack your back, do it on your own. Well, no, let me take that back. Don't do it on your own. Take that back. Don't do it on your own. But that's not what you're going to these two to get done. What you're going to, Dr. Toya and Tanya, is to get a blueprint on your overall care, and whether it's preventative care or whether it's restorative care. They're going to give that blueprint that's specific to you and then execute that. Now, when you were talking, you talked about medications and working with PCP. I know you use that term. That stands for primary care provider, for those that don't understand what that is. So are you saying that you're working in conjunction with their medical doctor?
We have worked in conjunction with many people's medical doctor, because you don't need a referral to go to a chiropractor. I know some people think that, or not in Texas anyway. I will speak for Texas, because chiropractic is governed a little bit differently across different states. So we work, I make sure, I'm like, hey, I need to make sure that your medical doctor knows what is going on here at our office. So that way we can develop a plan together. We've seen patients with various different neurological conditions. We worked at the VA for our last trimester of school. So we saw patients with MS, all different types of degenerative disc, literally every surgery you can imagine that they've had it. And so we really worked with PTs, neurologists, anybody across the board to make sure that they understood what we were trying to do and what we were trying to, how we could help. And it's more so about the patient. It's not even about us. It's about, I need to communicate with you because everything we're doing needs to benefit this patient's life in a positive way.
Right. And I think that's important to have that integrative approach, because you could be doing one thing that is contradictory to what somebody else is doing, and vice versa, right? So you could be doing one thing, they go to their other doctor and they're doing something different, and then they come back to you all and you're like, well, what's wrong? This is a setback. And so you're working against each other, but to have an integrative approach and say, okay, what medications are you on? What is your doctor doing? Calling that doctor and saying, okay, what are you doing? What are your thoughts about this particular patient? And then we can try to work together in terms of building that blueprint. Is that word again? Building that blueprint of care for this patient to get them on the road to recovery. I think that's the best way to do it, and talk about pain. So we are in pain month, which I had to learn that here in September. So I know we teased earlier in the program, we're going to give people some tips and tidbits on how to overcome back pain, because we know back pain is one of the most common types of pain. I've had back pain. I've had neck pain from sports. I've had a compression in my neck. I'm oversharing, but I had some C5 to C6 compression there in my neck, which caused numbness in my hand. So that's really what I did from thinking I could play football and overdoing it. But yeah, absolutely. So I understand that the pain process. So gives people some tips on how they can avoid, if they're starting to experience some back pain, what are some things that they can do to kind of alleviate it? And what are some steps that you all take to help people get through back pain?
Okay. Well, one of the things that we do is I have to say this one because we're chiropractors. We encourage people to move. I know it's like kind of, people are like, you want me to move, but I'm in pain. Like, no, we find successful movements. Or we find a way, like if you tell me you want to do this and you're going to do this regardless, let's find a way that you can do it safely. So that's one of the things, even like if you're having back pain, even if you just go for a walk for a few minutes, that can definitely help. We try to aim to keep your pain within like a 3 out of 10, right? So it's bearable, because sometimes you have to wake the body up a little bit. And sometimes if we're sitting all the time, what a lot of people don't understand is that all of our joints don't have the same blood supply. Like they all have a blood supply, but some is, obviously our heart has more blood than some other parts of our body, right? Because it's important. So our joints don't have this larger blood supply. So how they get nutrients is through movement. So if you're sitting all the time and you notice, hey, my pain is increased, but I've become more sedentary, let's get you up, let's get you moving again. And then you can, find a trainer, find a specialist that you trust to help you with those movements if you're nervous about moving. And just watch your pain levels literally like decrease. I have people all the time that come to my office and they're like, hey, you know what? I started working out and I haven't noticed that much pain. I'm like, exactly.
So movement is a key because that increases blood flow, and that blood flow will, it sounds like you're saying that blood flow will help speed up healing.
Yes. So yeah, it gets our body, gets our joints the nutrients that they need to help heal.
Okay. But intuitively, we typically do the opposite, right?
Yes.
When something is hurting, we want to stop moving.
Yes.
And so you're saying, all right, but that's not helping. So
no.
Start moving. Okay. Anything else? Because I know a lot of times, like I've been on muscle relaxers before. Right? You said it didn't work for you, and we understand that with any medication, it's not 100% guaranteed that it will work. What is your understanding in terms of what muscle relaxers are designed to do if they are working, and then why it might be important to integrate chiropractic care even if you're on a muscle relaxer?
Well, I would just say, muscle relaxers, it's in the name, right? They're supposed to go in, scientifically with all these molecules in our body and, relax our muscles. But, sometimes you can come at it with a 2-pronged approach. And so we don't encourage our patients to stop using their muscle relaxers. We can't, legally, I cannot do that because prescribing is outside of my scope of practice. But we tell them like, hey, this is a conversation that you need to have with your PCP. If you feel like your muscle relaxer is not working, maybe they can prescribe you a different one. What we can do here is actually physically work the muscle, work the fascia around the muscles too. So that way we can kind of decrease your pain, from that approach as well, and relax the muscles as well as the medicine. So hopefully we get this synergistic effect rather than, you just playing, one or after the other and trying to see what works.
Yeah, I can speak because muscle relaxers on their own, it does help you feel better. It does take away the pain. It does relax the muscles, and you kind of have that euphoric, feeling that comes from the rest of that. But after you run their course, if you haven't healed properly, you're going to be back in pain. And so I think that integrative approach is the best way to think about it. So there's a couple of comments here that I want to ask you about in terms of helping overcome back pain. So Mark says, hot bath and stretch. Is that a good way to overcome back pain?
Those things definitely help, especially they help manage your pain outside of going to a chiropractor, or like a physical therapist, your choice. But hot baths will relax your muscles. And you also, when you stretch, especially hip stretches, because a lot of the muscles from our hips attach to our pelvis and our back. There's a lot of muscles that attach to the back, and stretching your hips out can really help improve the movement there. So you can have more mobility there. It typically helps with back pain because, you get stiff and you don't want to do anything. And if we stretch those muscles out, you get a little bit more range of motion. Typically, the muscles start to feel a little bit better as well.
But then I think also strength plays a really important part in that too, right? We have to find this happy medium between mobility, stability, and strength and power too, because it is important, because basically the stronger your muscles are and the more that they can load, the less susceptible you are to having joint pain sometimes, depending on what you were doing.
Yeah, we just really, stretching and strengthening both just prepare your body to do what it is that you're calling it to do.
Exactly.
And that's the focus. So it doesn't have to be something that's super, super hard. If you walk a lot every day, walking is great for you. Like, let's challenge you in all the ways we can challenge you walking, right?
And when I say strength, I don't mean like go be a bodybuilder. I'm not telling you to go let's lift 400 pounds. I'm not telling you to squat 400 pounds. So I just want to clarify that.
No. That's a good point. Because I was just about to make that point. Because I wanted to make sure that, because when people hear, a lot of times they hear strength training, right? They start thinking about weights and all that. No, it could be a resistant band. It could just be your body weight. It could just be you, whatever you need to do in terms of strengthening that muscle. Because anything any type of resistance, I guess maybe that's the better term. Any type of resistance on that muscle will help it exercise it instead of just So yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up.
And that's what we always start with our patients, right? What is the hardest thing you do well? Let's progress you from there. If you haven't lifted, or you've never done a back squat, or you've never done, anything like heavy, right? What is heavy for you? Because heavy is going to be relative. So I think that when people are trying to figure out how they want to move, they need to go and find a trainer or whoever they trust that's going to be patient with them and help and really knowledgeable about progressing them through certain movements.
And keeping their goals in mind.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't want to lift 100 pounds, if you never need to do that in your daily life, why go out and lift 100 pounds? Let's make something more functional for you.
All right. So that leads me to the next question. Are there some good kind of strength building exercises that people can do at home to help their bodies just be in better shape? Because I know a lot of times especially with the pandemic, more people are working from home and they're finding themselves and there's less opportunity to go out and do things, or people are feeling more apprehensive about going out and exercising in the world. So are there some things that people can do at home, some home exercises that they can do to keep themselves in shape? Because I sit at this chair a lot during the day. And yes, it's supposedly ergonomically designed. But if I don't get up and move, I typically get stiff and sore. So are there some things that I could do throughout the day to make sure that my body is staying in relatively good shape?
Okay. First, I would say planks. They're a really good one because you don't need a lot of equipment. You can plank, whether that's on your knees or if that's on your, a full out in like a full push-up position. That's a great exercise, and you can kind of monitor your own progress. If you can only do it for 10 seconds, that's okay. Like, take your break and then go back into it. You do, a couple 5 or 6 reps of that. You'll see that you usually start to get your heart rate up pretty quickly. And core strength is very important because it affects our limb movement. So like our arms and our legs are only as good as our core are, essentially. Squatting.
Squats are always a good
It doesn't
one.
have to be super deep.
No.
For those of you with knee pain, just go to right before you feel the pain. And that's still an effective exercise.
I always love squatting and deadlifting only because we have to do those movements. We have to do those movements in our everyday life. I don't care who you are. You have to squat. You have to sit down. You sit down in the chair every day. You sit down when you go to the bathroom. So they're super important. Even when you're carrying groceries, you have to bend over, pick the groceries up. That's a deadlift.
Yes.
So they're super, super important. I think, and you don't really need, even if you have cans, right? You can use cans at home. If you don't have weights or something, fill a bag with some cans or something, and then just squat with that. Or if you have a baby, squat with a baby. Deadlift with the things you have around your home.
All right, so we got planks, which is that could be a more advanced exercise. We could do planks.
It can be.
That's a great core building exercise. Squats and deadlifts that you can do at home to help build that core strength. Because right, I was on TikTok and I saw this one video, and it was this guy talking about, I've had knee surgery and I had, like I told you, I almost tore my groin, so I still have hip pain as a result. And he said, And one of the things they were talking about was, as you get older, one of the things that you need to be able to do is, can you get off the ground, right? If you're on the ground, can you stand up, and how quickly do you need to roll over and push yourself up, or can you just use your legs? And so it was an exercise, and it was a deep squat, right? And then I just kind of slide side to side to kind of feel that stretch in my hips, and then stand back up. You do it, every so often, and that will help reduce hip and back pain. And it absolutely has worked. Like, so I find myself doing it from time to time. If I'm standing in line somewhere, or if I'm, playing golf right before I start my round, I'll do that deep hip bend stretch, and it really has helped in terms of hip pain and back pain. So
that's awesome. I'm glad that he was able to help you.
TikTok, I'm telling you.
Like, TikTok is very educational. I know people think that all there's on there are dances, but there's a lot of good things on TikTok.
It is. You just gotta click on it. You gotta find it. Otherwise, you'll be doing a whole other dance if you learn this.
But at least you'll move, right?
Okay, so let's talk about it. And there was a comment. So I don't want to. It was a question in the comments. I guess we just kind of moved right into the question Q&A session. But there was a question about diet. What role does diet, in terms of like they were mentioning anti-inflammatories, with regards to what role does diet play in terms of helping your overall health and wellness?
Diet is really important to your overall health and wellness. I know people, I know you like to eat what you like to eat, and I'm not here to, I like to eat. Love cake. Okay, so that's my thing. I'm probably never going to give it up, but just trying to find a happy balance with whatever it is you're eating. And then also, I like to call it a lifestyle, not necessarily a diet. And so then you have to figure out what works well for you. I know personally, when we started on our journey, I just took out soda first. And then just added something, because people get really overwhelmed and you have to do everything at once. Just try one thing that that you're willing to like give up or cut back on, and then progress from there. Just slowly start adding things in, because all of these, prepackaged foods and everything, they don't really have the nutrients that our bodies need to do what we are asking them to do.
And they spike our inflammatory markers.
Yeah.
And so that is linked heavily to chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you take those things out, all those processed foods, the junk food, anything like out of a package, essentially,
or anything that you can read what's on the label, you probably should.
Yeah, and focus on eating more fruits and vegetables, because those are rich with antioxidants, which are the things that are going to help us, not have as much inflammation. You'll do your body a favor.
Your body will really thank you for it.
Well, we're thanking you for giving us that information. I promise you, because pain is really inflammation, and a lot of pain is inflammation in the joints, inflammation in the muscles, whether it's a tear or something like that. And so, if you can reduce that inflammation, that can help reduce the pain and help the healing process. So there's a few questions here. Renee has. I'm gonna put it on screen here. So Renee says, "I've tried PT, dieting, muscle relaxers, and chiropractor, and nothing has helped with my back pain. I never had any back issues until I had I'm going to assume that's a lumbar puncture done. Could my back pain be related to that?"
It's so definitely. I'm not going to say it couldn't be. It definitely could be. Also, I would be more interested, if I was your doctor, learning more about what else is going on in your life, because pain is very complex in nature. It's not always I wish it was as simple as this joint isn't functioning that well and we need to fix that, or a certain diet, but sometimes it can be hormonal, sometimes it can be stress related. So I would be more, like, are you having some type of anxiety or anything like that? Because you can have our brain doesn't differentiate stress in like we do, like physical stress, or like I'm stressed from work, or I'm stressed from, from this relationship, emotional stress, right? It only sees it as one thing. So eventually it will start to put it out somewhere. I know I hated before I went to chiropractic school. I'm not even going to mention the name of the company, but I was started experiencing a lot of upper back pain because I was just carrying so much stress there. And I was just so overwhelmed every day that it was literally being put out. My stress was being put out in the form of pain because I wasn't dealing with it.
I would also say, and it also could be related to the emotions during the time of the lumbar puncture as well. So maybe try acupuncture and or dry needling as well, those could be some things that could really help too if you haven't tried those with your chiropractor or PT.
Or there's also there's certain like pelvic PT specialists. I know we're talking about chiropractors, but there's certain even for women, especially if you've given birth, there's like certain hormones and stuff that can linger. So talking to a pelvic PT specifically they can do like different hormone panels and really assess like, hey, is this woman's hormones like okay?
You know, you're like, y'all making me review all my little pain history. I'm like, man, I've had some acupuncture. I had the acupuncture where he did the needling and he twisted it.
Yeah.
That was not pleasant going through it. It was after.
Yes.
But that is a process. It absolutely worked. I did the electric when they put the strap on it. Yeah. As you can tell, I've had a lot of pain in my
It sounds like it.
In my life. Yeah, I've had, because I played a lot of sports, and so when you were, football, baseball, it kept going, throughout my life, and so, when you do that, it's a cumulative effect of all of those activities. The shoulder came from just throwing so much. The knee came from, I was playing football and landed wrong and tore my ACL. And I told you I slipped. I was playing quarterback in the flag football league, and it rained and the ground was wet. And I stepped back and my foot slipped out and I did a split. And I wasn't equipped to do a split. And that's how I was tore my groin. And so so it's definitely so the weekend warriors out there, make sure you stretch and that you see your chiropractor for preventative before you have to see them after the fact. So there was another question. I know there's been some great Diane. I may put up there all of these foods that she's had in terms of anti-inflammatories: fresh garlic, fresh ginger, lemon or lime, fresh turmeric, cinnamon stick. Boil all of them together. This recipe is an excellent anti-inflammatory agent. So you drink that, Diane? After you boil all that together? Can you put some sugar and some Kool-Aid in there to make it taste better? But yeah, definitely do some research. I did see that comment. Do some research in terms of anti-inflammatory agents, anti-inflammatory foods. There's some ways, and sometimes it's the preparation can reduce or enhance their anti-inflammatory action. So sometimes you can cook the anti-inflammatory out of it, or sometimes you have to cook it to get it in. So please do that research in terms of finding out the best anti-inflammatory agents for you as well. So definitely, there was another question. Yes.
Gut. So like talking to someone about your gut health can actually really help too. If you feel like you've tried all these different anti-inflammatories and they're not working like how they should, it could be that some of the cells that live inside of our stomach may not be happy. We might need to repair the gut before we try the anti-inflammatory to help heal that way too. And that also can be linked to pain. So I just have to throw that out there.
Got you. Okay, so there's another question. Deep tissue massages. All right, and Rochelle is like, they hurt, and so she said deep tissue massages paired with chiropractic care was prescribed by her doctor. How does this massage help? Because that massage is painful, and I don't want to do it again.
So I think the thing to keep in mind about when you get a deep tissue massage, some people take the philosophy that, no pain, no gain. And that you can work to a certain extent, but you need to be in close communication with your massage therapist, because there is a point where you can still damage tissue. So just tell them, hey, this is too much for me. And they should back off their pressure. If they don't do that and they leave you bruised and sore for, days on end, most likely you've probably had some tissue damage there, and you need to revisit, you can get a new massage therapist, because massage and chiropractic go very well together. But if you're hurting more than it's helping, then we need to revisit some things.
Yeah. So basically, it should be uncomfortable but not painful.
Yeah, it should be uncomfortable, like tolerable, not just painful. If you're moving to try to get away from the therapist's pressure, tell them that you need them to back off a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to get to this question. I know we're running short on time, but I'm going to get to this question here because she mentioned it before. So LaWanna, and I think somebody else mentioned, maybe it's the same person. She has MS, and this low back pain from MS has been relentless. Have to sleep across a rod. Any suggestions on how to help alleviate some of that lower back pain?
Okay, so and see, MS, it's very, very tricky. I would probably say, like, ask them, are they seeing a chiropractor? See if they're I would talk to their PCP and see if they're able to do some type of dry needling or some type of acupuncture, because I think it actually could do like tremendous things for them. Maybe you got.
And then if you decide to see a chiropractor, I would probably lean more towards a sports chiropractor or a chiropractor that specializes in or has a neurological focus.
Yes.
Because they'll help with that condition a little bit more in terms of like the relapsing and everything like that.
Relapsing and remitting.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, that was that was a tough one. I know that was a.
It's okay. Yeah. We actually had a patient with MS before, so.
Okay.
They definitely said seeing a chiropractor and the acupuncture were the best things for them.
Okay. And acupuncture, and just as an FYI, because again, what we're trying to do specifically here on our program basis now, we don't want to be all about medications, right? And so medications have their place, but if there are some alternatives to medication, particularly when it comes to pain management, we definitely want to have that option and give people some understanding of that option, which is why we have you all here. And I would say I'd love to have you all come back on a regular basis to check in with us and just kind of give us some updates on what's going on in your life, and also to give our audience some more options, right? And then kind of talk about pain management and different things that they could be doing in order in terms of stretching and strengthening their body, so we can continue to move forward on that health and wellness journey. All right, so she said she's never heard of dry needling. Help us understand what dry needling is. I know we threw it out there.
Yes.
So what is dry needling?
So we practice it in our office. It's actually you use acupuncture needles, and it's kind of similar to acupuncture, but we follow the basically the joints and muscles versus the they call meridian points, or the energy flow throughout the body. So we'll go after different trigger points. If you strain a muscle, we'll directly needle that muscle. But it basically creates a positive inflammatory response to help that tissue heal. So it's going to bring all of those nutrients there through the blood flow to be able to help heal that tissue.
Yeah, now you may be a little bit sore just from at the sight of the needle, but it's a really good therapy for lots of conditions.
Yeah, so I've had dry needling too. So maybe I'm the right host for this show. I'm the type of people with testimony for everything. I've had the dry needling. That's what I was talking about when you put it in. And the twisting to get the muscle to wrap around the needle, and then it slowly relaxes and releases, and that help with the pain. Acupuncture is different because it's about where they put the needles in. So for a headache in acupuncture, they might put it in the bottom of your foot, right? So it's just about where they see the pain points and how it alleviates. They do stuff with the palms and all kind of stuff. Whereas dry needling is, again, it's attacking the source of where the pain is, and it goes directly into that. So, but it's very much in the same way. They put this thing on my shoulder and he just tapped it in, and it was in there, and I didn't feel it going in. It was the twisting that was painful.
You don't have to do that. That is a more aggressive form of dry needling, but it still is effective.
Yeah. I needed that aggressiveness. But absolutely. But this has been an absolute joy talking to both of you all, and you are just so. I mean, the way you all work together, and I know there was one thing we forgot to mention earlier. They are mirrored twins.
Oh yeah.
And so just for y'all, because we all know, most of us know about identical twins, but these are mirrored identical twins, which is more rare. So I'm gonna let y'all talk about what a mirrored identical twin is.
So basically,
we're a subset of identical twins, and our fingerprints match on opposite hands. We've actually met 3 or 4 other sets of mirrors. One had a dimple on this side and one had a dimple on the other side. It's really crazy. But it's only like 1 out of every 500,000 twin births. So people think we're really weird, but one's right-handed, one's always right-handed, one's always left-handed. I'm left-handed, she's right-handed. But my hair falls to the left, her hair falls to the right. It's just, it works well together.
I'm sure. Well, I'm going to say thank you to your mom, as she's been a faithful audience participant here. Thank you for raising 2 well-adjusted and very, very intelligent young women. I wish you nothing but success. And I can't wait for you to come back and talk to us again about our pain management and really kind of give us some tips and techniques and really helping us understand chiropractic care. Because again, when we talked before, I was like, it's got to be more than just back cracking. And you're like, it's way more than that. And just from hearing you all talk about it tonight and the integrative approach and just really helping answer some questions and give people some other alternatives, or maybe in addition to what they're already doing to manage their pain. And so I want to just say thank you both for joining us this evening. And thank you for answering all the questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of the questions, but thank you all for just being here. Inspiring story. We want to continue to have a relationship here with you on Black Doctor. So again, you all, if you got something useful from this, if you're watching this program, you say, this is a great program, share it on your page. It will be available on our YouTube channel as well. And we're going to re-air this program tomorrow morning. So if you need to watch it again, or if you want to tell a friend, hey, they're going to we're going to re-air it tomorrow morning so you can get that opportunity to see this again. And so thank you all. We wish you all the success that you've already had and success in the future. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.